GDP is crazy important to economics. Reason being is it basically measures everything that we produce. It's the total monetary or market value of all finished goods and services produced within a country's border in a specific time period. That's a very book definition. If you feel like writing it, go for it. Otherwise, I would honestly put down the total market value of finished goods and services in a country's border at a specific time. Something along those lines. Basically the same thing, but less boring sounding. GDP is the measure of finished goods. It also is measured in units of time. You don't say like, this is this country's GDP without saying for 2021 or for 2020 or for the month of January in 2020. Because you need a specific time. The other thing about it is it has to be for a specific country. We don't measure products that France sells because that's France's GDP. It is written as this equation, which do not panic. I will never make you solve this, not even once. Same with every single other equation we have talked about, because you guys, well, some of you might be, but you're not economists yet. You know more than the average adult, but if you do go to college and you take any econ classes, which many of you might, you will actually have to solve this equation. But let's be real, you're just doing addition and one subtraction. So it's not really a hard equation. You could probably all do this at this point, but it's one of those things where they have to make it really hard in college because this is so easy. They have to like make you calculate all the little individual pieces of it. C stands for consumption. That's consumer spending, what you go and buy. If you go to Lulu's and you buy a pair of pants, you are accounting for consumption there. I is investment by business. What might a business invest in? Anyone? What do they have to buy to run a business? Products. Products. What else?
Employees.
Employees is a good one. What else? A place. Excellent. That is a major part of investment. What else? There's something else that's really big.
Storage.
Storage is one. Starts with a T.
Time.
Close. Technology. I guess that's not really close to time, but it did start with a T.
Yeah.
Technology is huge. That's a big part of investment in your company. Government spending. What does the government spend money on? Lots of stuff. Healthcare. What else?
Like
Rockets and stuff, space stuff.
Military.
Military, that's a big area of spending for us. What else?
Education.
Education, roads, fixing things, unions, you name it. There is a lot of government spending. That is included in GDP. The final one is a little interesting one. It is exports minus imports. That is how much we are selling out to other countries minus how much we're buying from other countries. We have to do both. Both counts as consumption and also selling. I was gonna say spelling. Feel good here? All right. It's extremely important. I've already started hammering that in, but it's not perfect. There are some things that it excludes. For example, it doesn't count secondhand stuff. So half of my outfit right now is not included in GDP because I am a thrifter. You go to Plato's, you buy a whole wardrobe. You go to Vinnie's and you get a dresser or something for your next apartment, none of that counts in GDP. It did when it was bought new, but it doesn't when it's bought for the second, third, fourth, whatever time. Good? Okay. It also does not count black market or illegal goods. That's pretty self-explanatory. If you're not reporting it to the government, they don't know about it. It's not included in GDP. Yes?
Will it have a negative effect towards this? Because I feel like thrifting's becoming more popular, like it's a more popularized thing.
I think genuinely, just like with GDP, a lot of it is your spending, how much you're producing and spending. So if that is decreased at all, 100%. And if people are spending more time thrifting, that's definitely going to negatively impact GDP. Fast fashion's becoming a lot more of like a negative thing in our community. People are like associating fast fashion with like not a good thing. Your opinions are valid either way, whichever you think. But that specific like opinion that's been going around has definitely decreased GDP. Labor that is reported. So, have any of you worked for a parent or a friend of a parent or a family member and they paid you under the table? Nothing was reported for tax forms. You both did. What did you guys do?
I worked for my mom, or not my mom's, my aunt's like printing company.
Printing company. What about you?
Mowing,
Mowing.
like doing yard work.
A lot of people it's babysitting.
Nanny, yeah.
Babysitting. None of that counts towards GDP. Basically, anything that you don't have to pay taxes on doesn't count towards GDP. Does that make sense? Also, any of you know a stay-at-home parent?
No.
No? No one knows a stay-at-home parent?
You know,
1, 2. Their work, while it is very difficult and time-consuming, unfortunately does not count towards GDP.
Is that, I do know one.
Wait, so what does it include again?
It includes, for work-wise, anything that is reported by taxes. That's probably the easiest way to sum it up. So, because all of this consumption and production is happening, but it's not being reported, we can't say that GDP is a perfect indicator of economic health. Does that make sense? Okay. But it's the best thing we have to measure how well the economy is doing. Side note, fun little graph, measures GDP. See this dip? We went negative for 2020, 2021. I'm sure you can all assume why, that it's COVID. But what about COVID made this negative? Look at this equation. What are we doing that makes this negative? Let me add another note here. If this is 0, this is 0, this is 0, it would just be 0. It wouldn't be negative. So what is making this negative? Get those wheels turning. I know it's early and I know y'all got poured on your way here, but please.
What is making?
What is making the 2020 COVID spike negative in GDP?
Because no one's buying anything.
No one's buying anything. That brings it down.
Nobody's not.
But they
it's-
couldn't get it.
Stock market, but that's not what's bringing it down, but good point.
They couldn't.
People aren't making money because they're being laid off.
That's also what's happening. That's impacting all of this in GDP and making it 0,
But they couldn't.
but it wouldn't make it negative. What about this equation would make it negative? Look here, specifically.
The imports. There's no imports.
Flip that around.
There's no exports.
We are only importing goods as a community. During COVID,
Oh.
tell me how many times you guys shop from Amazon. You know all those products are not being produced in the US. If we have negative happening here, if we have more imports than exports, this number becomes negative. And we were producing so little on this end that our whole GDP was negative. Just how much we were importing made this whole thing negative. Isn't that crazy? And by a lot, too. Look at that. That's huge. I just thought that was interesting.
Back up. Back up.
Back up, back up. All right.